Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Xanthicin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Xanthicin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getxantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Xanthicin.
How's it going, everybody? Episode 42 here on Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. Jordan Helly, Hunter Hughes, back with you here via the ESPN Honolulu family of networks, if you will, whether you catch us on YouTube, Facebook, or any of the podcast streaming platforms that we are currently on. Excited to welcome in Jared Ursua, the wide receivers coach for the University of Hawaii, to today's episode. We're kind of working our way through the coaching staff as we move our way through the offseason. And, of course, a big mahalo to our other sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. We record this at about 7:45 Tuesday morning, set to release this in a couple of days on June 16th, the Thursday. Before we get into things, we got to remind you about our buddies over at Xanthicin. They can help you get some of this amazing supplement called astaxanthin. Doctors and pharmacists recommend it for everything from joint and muscle function to cholesterol health and cognitive function, even anti-aging. But did you know only one brand delivers 3 times more astaxanthin to your body, making it a better buy than the competition? That's Xanthicin, available at getxantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, GNC Stores, and Pharmacare Hawaii. Learn more at getxantho.com. All right, Hunter, another fun episode. I wasn't able to make it to a earlier recording with our guy, Jared Ursua, the new wide receivers coach for the University of Hawaii. Obviously, a name that is synonymous with success, a name that is synonymous with catching passes at a very high clip for the University of Hawaii. Of course, older brother of John Ursua, former University of Hawaii great, now plying his trade in professional football. And big mahalo to you, scheduling wise, working that out and getting the interview with Jared. He's a fun guy and a guy who brings a lot of experience, obviously having played at Southern Utah, coached at Southern Utah, was the receivers coach, recruiting coordinator there, as well as over in Ogden at Weber State. So he's got a lot of experience in that Big Sky Conference, a lot of experience in the Beehive State. Obviously could help with recruiting as well. The fruitful recruiting hotbed that is Utah these days. He's a guy, of course, from the Kona side of the Big Island, local guy through and through, has spent a lot of time on the mainland, a lot of time in the sport, but good fun. You know, he's a guy that I think will look to and understands the carrying of the torch that is the wide receiver room at the University of Hawaii.
Oh yeah, big time. You know, great catching up with Coach. We obviously have a great connection with his brother. We've joked before that their mom and my mom would always sit together at player family functions and things of that nature. So that was something cool between our families. But yeah, great guy. He mentioned in our interview just how special it is to come back and coach at University of Hawaii, and being over at Utah for really the last 20 years, and where he kind of got his feet wet in coaching and established this job at University of Hawaii is a dream job for him. And Jordan, we've talked about on the show that the recipe for UH greatness is coaches like himself that don't want to go other places. Obviously, you know, you've got situations, you've got money calling you elsewhere, where, you know, we obviously see that happen time after time again. We bring great coaches in, we can't find the money or the resource to keep them here, and so they go elsewhere. It's kind of the name of the game with Hawaii football. And so to have coaches that desire to be here, that are really, you know, maybe willing to take a little bit less money for the sake of the lifestyle here in Hawaii, coaching here, making a difference here, that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest ingredients for a long-standing tradition of success for Hawaii football moving forward. And so to hear that from Coach Ursua is really exciting to me. It really is.
I'm with you, right? And I think, we've talked to a good handful now of coaches that are on this
Yeah.
staff, and there's a connective tissue. Like there is very much a common denominator, with these guys, whether they are from here, if they're not from here, they played here, right? In the case of Jared Ursua, right? He's from the Big Island, didn't necessarily play at the University of Hawaii, but he's a local guy,
He gets
right?
it.
Or and so yeah, guys that sort of get it, right? And it's a little hard to always sort of put that into words, right? I mean, it's just different, for better or worse, right? In Hawaii, the nuances that come with it culturally, the nuances that come with it from just like a plain logistical standpoint when it comes to like playing at the University of Hawaii with the lack of resources out in the middle of the ocean. All that sort of comes with it. It helps to have some institutional knowledge,
Yes.
so you're not kind of banging your head up against the wall asking yourself like, what are we doing here? Because it is what it is when it
Right.
comes to some of the situations, right? The small stadium or the lack of funding or something like that. It's like it could get better, don't get me wrong. And I think, the current coaching staff in Timmy Chang is working to improve a lot of those things, but you can't get lost in the mud, if you will,
Yeah.
as you progress. And so it's pretty cool that he sort of embraced that challenge, or maybe not, that comes with also maybe being the position group that is most watched. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
right word, but most followed by your head coach in Timmy Chang, because that's his background, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure coaching defensive backs for Nick Saban or Bill Belichick comes with a little something, right? And so, these guys, they have their backgrounds, and obviously Timmy, having played quarterback, but has entrusted a lot of that to Coach Shoemaker, the offensive coordinator. But he's been a receivers coach. That's where he's cut his teeth. And so I think we should expect to see a lot of collaboration, if you will, with that wide receiver room.
Yeah. Oh, big time. We mentioned that in the interview too, just how integral wide receiver and quarterback synergy, harmony, whatever word you want to throw in there, um, to make an offense click, especially one down the road if they do plan on integrating the run and shoot into our offensive scheme. I like what he says about we don't like to corner ourselves by saying we are one specific offense. The game of football is ever evolving, which I really appreciate. I couldn't agree with that anymore. You see how many teams have adapted some of this run pass option play calling. It just adds so much versatility to the game. Even from when you and I were growing up, Jordan, watching teams like the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, full on pro style attack, they never did any sort of run pass option where you fake to the running back, read the linebacker, throw over the top. You never saw anything close to looking like that. And now, even all the way at the top of college football, with teams like Alabama utilizing some of the same play calling to try to put points on the board, it really is kind of telling with where the sport is, where coaching is, and how they kind of glean off of each other from team to team. I've kind of noticed that.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes that innovation comes from lower levels of football, right? I mean, some of this stuff like high school guys were experimenting with a while ago, right? The run pass option stuff, and it sort of trickles upward into different levels of football, into all the way to the NFL, right? And usually
Yeah.
the highest of levels are the most rigid, and they're going to kind of wait and copycat. But I bring that up because so many of the guys on this staff, right? And it's a kind of a glass half full, glass half empty approach. But I like that these guys have sort of cut their teeth at lower levels, right? We had this very same conversation with Ian Shoemaker, the offensive coordinator, who's coached everything from NAIA to Division III, Division II, FCS, and now FBS. And when you coach at those levels, you got to get creative, because you're not necessarily getting 5-star recruits or even like big time recruits at some of these small schools. You're just getting whoever shows up on campus, kind of like high school. And then you figure out what you got, and you figure out what works best, and whether that's, throwing it a thousand times, or running the triple option, or, marrying the two.
Yeah.
And so we get, innovative things like the run pass option. And so I like that these guys have that again, the connective tissue with the ties to Hawaii and what they're doing in terms of sort of building that culture within the football program to sort of mirror the outside world in Hawaii, but also the level of innovation from some of these guys, right? We saw it in previous coaching staffs like Brian Smith and Craig Stutzman, guys that had coached at lower levels, right? And all of a sudden they were given an opportunity and had a lot of success. So I don't think that's a bad thing at all, that guys that have coached at FCS and whatnot, we're finding guys, Kiki Misipeka, the running backs coach who comes from Division II here most recently. Like I don't really have a problem with it. I'm sure like the big sexy guy from the Power Five or something like that. Like, yeah, maybe that's pretty cool, but I'm all for innovation, especially on the offensive side of the football. Not that we won't see a bit of creativity on the defensive side, as Coach Yoro has kind of teased as well.
Yeah, definitely. Good point there. Coaches at the lower level, I think, can almost flex their abilities as play callers, as teachers of the game at a different level down there than at the Power Five level. Because if you've got a 5-star receiver at 6'5", 220 Megatron status, you can coach them up, but at the same time, a great player is just going to make great plays. They do the work for you. They make you look good. Now, if you're able to be successful at lower levels time after time after time again, putting points on the board like crazy, like, someone like Coach Shoemaker we're expecting to see somewhat similar results, if not better, at this level with, you would argue, better tools to work with. It's like an artist. He's gonna do fine with crappy paintbrushes, but if you give him top tier tools to work with, how much better the result's going to be. So, how about that metaphor for you, Jordan? We're
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. It's an art out there. You got to be able to paint the picture. It's speaking of pictures, it's so funny because I know you talked to Jared a bit about sort of the evolving offense and run pass option and how that sort of in itself evolved over the last decade.
Yeah.
And I just have these like very vivid, very very happy memories of John Ursua just running down the seam and Cole McDonald right on that RPO and just dicing teams, back around 2019 or so, and just how the mileage that play got for the University of Hawaii when it was sort of the return of the run and shoot, right? Yeah. But it really was a marriage of so many other things that they were already doing in the RPO, and just John Ursua just bending routes. And I guess it would have been more 2018, right, with John, but the
cherry monkey,
that's it. Oh. Just keep calling that, right? And if the RPO says to give it, then you run for 7 yards at a time. Like it was so much fun to watch. And it's funny because you saying that just sort of triggered these memories in my mind of Jared Ursua and others, right? And Cedric Bird right around that era, just torching people over the middle of the field.
Oh yeah. Beautiful design. And it wasn't like Rollo invented this. It's some sort of a, a pedigree, something that's been handed down. Pedigree is the wrong word, or a fraternity of these guys, first with Miles Davis and then Junes Jones, and then Rollo played under this, and then Timmy as well. They're all kind of in that same breath, and it works. It's just you get guys in there that may not be Power 5 skill level, but they understand this and they can tear it up, man. I mean, any success that you have on the ground will then bring those linebackers and those safeties in a step or two. And then if you get a receiver with skill set like John, who we talked off the air, Jordan, that if he stayed healthy, I really believe he would be one of the top fantasy getters in the NFL right now, in my opinion, for just straight production on the field, catches, yards after catch. I mean, he is a Hunter Renfrow, a Deshaun Jackson slot type of a guy. And I'm really hoping that he has another opportunity in the NFL, because he is that type of player, and obviously lit it up for us whenever him and Cole were doing their thing back in 2018, 2019.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, so many, right? And that of course kind of leads the wandering train of thought for me sort of in the direction, right? And you start thinking about it, and it's like, man, these receiver groups, not just obviously the standout receivers, right? Hawaii has had a long history. I mean, even going back to pre-run and shoot, right? Guys like Derek Branch and whatnot. And I'm going to just stop there, as at risk of neglecting to list the litany of others. And I'm sure the guys in the comments will help us with some of the earlier years. But, you know, you obviously had guys like Ashley Lilly, right? First round draft picks, but the receiver groups, I mean, you think of like 2018, 2019, right? That 2019 team with Cedric Bird and Jason Matthews Sharsh, Jojo Ward on the outside. And that was a team that also had like Melqui Stovall and Nick Mardner and Kumoku Noah. Like it was so deep, right? And obviously they go to the conference championship game that year. There were some years, even in the Norm years, right? When you had Marcus Kemp, who's still in the league, right? For the Chiefs, and has turned himself into a special teams maestro as well. But you know, that was an era where you had multiple guys that were like NFL talent receivers. And I know that you know very well, right? And I was trying to remember the years, 2014-ish, right around there, with Kirkwood and Davis and guys, right, that ended up finding their way to the league. Like even in some of the lean years, I guess you could say, in terms of success, like Hawaii just has this tradition, right? And you go back to some of these years, and that's just within the last 10, right? That's just within the last decade. And you think of all of these guys that you know, could just play, they could just catch the ball.
Yeah, no, we even bring that up. I think, if not the most important, UH has got to be one of the top schools in the nation for the necessity of having a deep wide receiver room. When you look at the length of schedule, the amount of mileage that the University of Hawaii football team undergoes every single year in terms of travel, and the wide receiver room being one of the more crucial position groups that the team as a whole leans on for help, specifically on special teams. Guys get hurt, guys get tired, guys get injured. And in order for the wide receiver room to continue to put out a good product on the offensive side of the football, not just on special teams, but guys, you know, the next man up really needs to be utilized and understood at the University of Hawaii, maybe more than any other team, because of that kind of, hey, we need you to be versatile here. If you're a receiver, that means you're going to be helping on kickoff. That means you're going to be on kickoff return. That means punt return, maybe even some field goal action too. It's bigger than just going down the field and making a read and then making a good catch on the sideline. It's a lot is leaned on for these guys in terms of what's expected from that wide receiver room.
Yeah, no doubt. 2010 with Salas and Polaris and Bryce Pollard, like that. Oh man, those were fun. That Brian Moniz, right, slinging it around, and then obviously Rivers, Grice Mullen, Bess, some of those guys, right? Washington and Ian Sample and some of like the 2006, 2007. Obviously, it's Stutzman, right? Oh no, yeah, exactly. Just a little bit earlier, right? Chad Owens, Billy. Yeah, that's right. It really raised around like the 2010 time, right? Like he's with Salas and those guys.
10 and 11, kind of those.
Yeah, it's kind of just amazing how, and it just became super ironic because Rolo left to go coach, you know, in the Palouse, but was it a tweet? Was it a whatever it was like, would you rather catch balls in paradise or go snock block in the snow? And it was always like, yeah, man, that's running around in Hawaii, catching passes all day seemed like a lot more fun. And then it was funny because he ended up going to coach at Washington State, where they also still slung it around all the time.
Yeah.
Lincoln Victor was on that 2019 team as well, who's now, doing well up in Washington. Like the level of talent and depth in these receiver rooms, I would imagine is part of the draw for a guy like Jared Ursua, right? That comes in and he's like, hey, there's a tradition here. When you go and recruit, it's a little easier to just kind of put on the tape, right? It's like, hey, you come to Hawaii, this is what we do.
That's
Does
right.
this seem fun to you? Probably. And so that's maybe a little easier sell, and it's decades worth of evidence that it's kind of what Hawaii does.
Totally. And I've even said this about Hawaii receivers at the high school level. They may not be as big as guys on the mainland, 5-star, 4-star, whatever you want to mention. May not be the fastest, but they're tough. They're sure-handed over the middle. They're not afraid to get licked. In fact, some of them, like some of these slot guys coming out of Hawaii, they want to hit that linebacker, man. And from a quarterback perspective, there's nothing better than a guy who wants to catch the football. They're a ball hawk, if you will. They just go up and get that thing. They're hungry for it. And it's kind of in the water, if you will, over here, Jordan, at that position group.
Yeah. I mean, I think of, we mentioned Jason Matthew Sharsh, right, from Honolulu, went to
my boy.
Went off to junior college, found his way back, right? He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest, but boy, he could run routes over the middle, and he was fearless, and he'd catch everything.
Samson,
I mean, some of my favorite guys growing up were like Gerald Welch, Britton Komine, who were not big, not fast, but I tell you what, those guys could get open and they could catch. And in that offense, if you know what you're doing, you'll get open, right? If you know what you're doing, there is way too much space on the football field.
Robbie Toma.
Yeah, Robbie Toma, right? All these guys, like they know how to do it. And you're right, and I think now that you've got some of these guys mining some of this local talent and trying to build these relationships and keep some of these guys home.
Donnie King.
Yeah. The number of guys, right, who maybe even didn't get the level of production as some of the others, but man, it is quite impressive. And then some of those guys go on to play, professional football, right? As we've already talked about. And that kind of lets us transition a little bit here throughout the rest of this first half before we get to the Jared Ursua interview. We kind of briefly mentioned it. I teased it, kind of prodded Hunter here if you wanted to get the arm loose for the XFL tryout coming to McKinley on June 25th. The Rock is supposed to be there. Dwayne Johnson's supposed to be there. I'm sure he'll address the guys that are trying out as the XFL is ready to reboot once again, starting in the spring. But on this very subject, right, all the local guys who, were used to running routes or whatnot, but it's obviously not just limited to wide receivers, but there's got to be, I would imagine there's some talent that's going to be rolling up on June 25th. I mean this sincerely, that, has some shots here, whether guys that played at the University of Hawaii, guys that played elsewhere, guys that are looking for a shot, Vince Papale style or something like that. There's going to be some talent there. I am guaranteeing that.
Yes. Oh, big time. And the fact that the NFL, and this is the big reason why The Rock is doing something like this, it's not just a money grab, which I'm sure he'll make some money out of this. It's to provide the NFL with an adequate minor league system, so something better than what we have. Because right now, even the best players from the biggest schools, the biggest programs, have maybe a 1 to 2. What's the average right now, Jordan? Like it's less than a year sometimes for an NFL player.
Oh yeah.
It's sometimes less than a year, even the biggest name guys. And so there's nothing for guys, even whenever they can't make that 53-man roster, for them to do other than to sit around and hope they get another call. I think of someone like Cole McDonald, who will also be at the XFL tryout this next week. Going from team to team, and someone who kind of suffered during that COVID era, having to go through the protocols week after week and not really given, I think, a fair shake with what his talent deserved, from everything he was able to do here at University of Hawaii at the NFL level. I mean, going from the Titans, he was drafted by those guys, shortly cut after that. The Arizona Cardinals gave him a camp invite after that. and then a few other teams, the Vikings being one of them. I know that he's a good buddy of mine. Just going from team to team and not really given that next, for how big the NFL is, it is the biggest sport in our country. It's the biggest money getter that there is. For us not to have, additional resources, additional opportunities for guys like him and an onslaught of others get another opportunity, it's kind of a bummer that we can't be more expansive, more diverse. And so I'm with you, man. I think the turnouts is going to be fantastic. I'm really interested to see who all is going to be out there. I know he's going to be out there. I know Bryant Moniz is going to be out there too.
There we go.
Man, a good old fashioned sling off.
I hope those receivers are stretched out and ready to run, man. Because there'll be
those
some
hands
balls
are
in the
warm.
air.
They're going to be coming hot. I know.
Yeah, that's true too. Those guys are going to be zinging it. And just a friendly reminder that the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Dragons of the XFL is June Jones. So there's some opportunities out there, and you think what he did in Houston, right? And turned PJ Walker into an NFL quarterback out of Temple, and he was like the one quarterback coming out of the XFL that really got a good look, and heck, started some games last year for the Panthers, I believe, right? When he had some injuries to Darnold. So yeah, if somehow one of these guys can end up, in Seattle, whether it's quarterbacks or not, if you're on the offensive side of the football, you can be producing here and maybe parlay that
June
into
will
a
be
shot.
tapping whoever their GM is very, very strongly to get either Moniz or Cole, depending on how they look.
June, if you can throw it, June will find you. So that has been the case for a number of years now. So that'll be a lot of fun. Drew Brown, a guy who at the University of Hawaii, but he's kind of found a little bit of a home, right? We were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. But north of the border, CFL kind of in full swing, as it usually is in the summer, which is always fun. If you catch some of these games, you can stream a lot of them online. And Drew Brown has been making the most of his opportunities.
Yeah, no, he came in for relief just this last week up in Winnipeg. I'm blanking on the team they played at the moment, but he led them down on a game-winning drive and they won the game. Drew's getting his shot up there in the CFL, and a couple other Hawaii guys are on that team. Tui Eli, our offensive lineman, he's up there. I think he might even be their center right now. And then I know Mephi Kaloa Matangi was on their team, I think a year ago or something like that too. So there seems to be somewhat of a pipeline for Hawaii football to Winnipeg up in Canada a little bit. And they won the Grey Cup last year, Jordan, which is their version of the Super Bowl.
That's right. That's right.
Drew just got his ring last week. I'm kind of jealous. That thing looked like Chinaman's hat on his hand, man. It's huge.
Yeah, they beat Ottawa last week. Came in, led them to the win over the Red Blacks for the winning drive there north of the border. So yeah, excellent opportunity. That's another league, right? If like Brian Moniz would know a little thing or two about. They throw it all over the place there on those gigantic fields with 12 players. CFL is so much fun.
It is, and with the guys running from behind the line.
Yeah.
I don't know how they defend those guys. It looks like a walk in the park from an offensive side.
The 3 downs thing, I think that's the big equalizer, right? You only get 3 downs instead of 4, and that's kind of how things even out. They ended up winning that one 19-17 over Ottawa. All right, that'll kind of wrap up the first half here on episode 42. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get you right into our Jared Ursua interview in just a little bit. But before we hit the halftime, we do have to tell you about our good friends, our sponsors over at Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, committed to serving individuals and businesses through its 14 branches, statewide and convenient digital banking services. As a leader in providing support for the islands, Hawaii USA is committed to strengthening Hawaii's financial wellness and sharing successes with members, local businesses, and the greater community. Originally opened in 1936 as a credit union for educators, Hawaii USA has inspired a culture of giving that is rooted in education and has since expanded to other areas of community need that impact financial health, including healthcare, housing, and hunger. To learn more, please visit HawaiiUSAFCU.com. Jared Ursua coming up in second half.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, and welcome back to Hawaii Football Now. We've got joining us today Coach Jared Ursua, the recent hire for the wide receivers core over at the University of Hawaii. We are so stoked to have him. We know it's early. We record this at 7:09 Tuesday, June 14th. And Coach, thanks for joining us this morning. I know it's kind of an early start for you guys. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to hang out with us.
Hunter, we're happy to be here. This is the summer of strain for the University of Hawaii football team. We got a long marathon that we started about 2-3 weeks ago, where we are picking up the pace now in full stride to a bowl game. So it's never too early. We're always working here, and we're happy to be on the show.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time for the listeners, at home for the football calendar right now. Spring ball is done. Summer training is in full swing right now. I mean, are you guys in PRPs right now, or player ran practices for those listening at home? I mean, what's it look like for you guys and as a coaching staff from a recruiting standpoint? Is that kind of on the back burner for you guys, or is this kind of more of a chill time period for you?
So we're full speed, like I said. So right now we're setting the ground foundation of a pyramid to success. And these are the main building blocks. Like you mentioned, we are in the middle of PRPs, which are player run practices. That's going to only help us build leadership and accountability amongst the teammates. And so this time frame, we get to a small window per week that we get to be able to teach a bit and reinstall, so to say, from the 15 practices that we took from the spring and revisit those things, as well as introduce for a number of the new guys. Obviously, we did some heavy shopping on the portal and have some exciting prospects coming in as well from high school that we feel are great gets. And so right now, this is a very a start of, we're at the base of the mountain still. But there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of great buzz. The guys are here. The accountability, like I said, is high. The guys are showing up. And then there's a lot of good going on with, feeding the players, keeping them around more, keeping them around the facility more. So a lot of good happening right now, where it is a little bit more loose, but in the same sense, hopefully progressing a little day by day.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the hype, and Jordan and I have mentioned it a few times on the show that I can't remember a time in Hawaii football history where the hype has been higher going into a season, from the attention of mainland recruits, even just the morale here on the island. It seems as if there's almost been a resurrection for University of Hawaii football. And I just kind of wanted to commend you guys as coaching staff, the amount of work and dedication that you have put in there. We're kind of seeing the residual effects of what goes on behind the doors for you guys. So I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that we all see it, and we're so excited about this year, man.
Well, it really goes to first admit, it was a hard time for Hawaii football fans. But here's who really deserves a compliment: people who made decisions to put Timmy Chang in place. Because I think what we've all seen is he's the right person for the job. Not only has he gotten excellent reviews from the players in being the right person with all the issues that had happened prior to, but as well, I think he brought in the right staff, guys who are to the university, to the state of Hawaii, to this program. And then he's done an excellent job in involving the community. And when you have those three phases in a program and a little bit of momentum shifting from third to fourth gear, getting ready, it creates some excitement. And now the only thing in front of us is some football.
That's right, man. And a welcome home for you as well. I know you guys. I know your family a little bit from playing with your brother John. I know you guys have connections over in Utah, but coming back and coaching in Hawaii, would you say that was kind of a homecoming for you and your family?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is, and I told the Veneri brothers this in a discussion we had. This is a dream job for me. My love, my obsession with college football stems from the University of Hawaii, and I'm watching guys like Nady Lawa and Timmy and Chris, Abe Elaminian. These guys who are on the staff that I work with on a daily basis are the reason I love it. And so this is more than a homecoming. This is an opportunity that I consider gold and wanted to be a part of. And so we're excited being home. There's a lot of new dynamic. I've been in Utah for the last almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I left a long time ago to be up there. Was able to really get things started and get the footing of the coaching profession. But right now, we're here. My family loves it. My kids, I've got 4 kids. My daughter Mila and Harvey, Makana and Koa. They just love going to the beach every day, and it's been great in more than just football.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we're super stoked to have you, man. And beyond that, if people have been down at practice, they see that Coach Timmy's out there. He's got his hands in just about every position group, but from my perspective, he's got his hands the most in the receiver core than maybe any other position group. And just kind of wanted to pick your brain on what that's like. Obviously, being a position coach, you have to kind of go step in step with what head coach wants to accomplish in each individual position group. But what's that been like with kind of picking his brain, his football brain, alongside Coach Timmy throughout this process?
It's been an excellent process, and going back to him bringing in the right people, I think he knew personality-wise and characters of guys like Shoemaker and myself and Chef and Rome, Kiki, that we've all been around good football. We've all won a lot of football games and been a part of a great culture. But in order for it to work in a new program, you got to mesh. And you got to give a little, right? You got to push certain items, a little bit harder, stand on the table, that you feel confident with. And other things, you got to hear it out and let it see. And I think that's been the best element thus far, is nobody is so married to a specific thing that they're not willing to listen, hear, learn, and grow from the coach next to them. I faced at Weber, we faced Eastern Washington, so I saw that animal operate while we were there. We played Nevada as well, so I got to see Jermaine Dobbs, who Timmy had coached, and so there's a high trust factor. We've all gone against each other. We've seen the kind of product that we put, and so the discussions that we have, not just in our meeting time, but even when the meeting adjourns, when we get out, we are walking through the hallway, continually putting X's and O's on walls, making sure that we're understanding the specifics and details that we want the players to understand. Why is he so involved in this? Is because this is his baby. I want him to be involved. Yeah. Right. That's the beauty of the job that we have here. The only problem is that the quarterbacks get jealous. They sit there and they want to know how this guy's thrown for 17,000 yards and he's not spending time with them. So it's been a lot of fun in this process. Me and him working together, spending time talking about some of the more intricate things. We're keeping it at a fundamental level and making sure that the moxie of the receiver group knows and understands what the expectation is. But that some of the greatest players and some of the best draft picks have been in that room, and so they've got to perform.
One of which being 5, of course, that goes without saying. So, you mentioned it right there. Coach Chang, Coach Shu, they've gone out before and kind of acknowledged that, we have dreams and aspirations of the run and shoot, but we're not quite there yet. And a big reason for those listening at home is understanding and everybody being on the same page, not just from the quarterback room specifically, but the receiver core as well. People sleep on the fact that the only way for a a scheme like the run and shoot to work effectively is everybody making the correct reads in unison and harmony together. And so it's got to be a lot of fun from a coaching perspective of kind of going step in step with a coach like Shoemaker who knows how to score points and what this season could become with whatever offense you guys are running.
Yeah, we are unapologetically not looking to be branded, right? We're not looking to tell people, oh, we're sorry, we're not this and that. The game of football continues to evolve in a way where defensive schemes, there's a lot more mix to it, and with that, the offense. You just can't give it away too easily what you're doing. And so not only will there be variety in route structures and the tree that you see these guys run, we're going to have a mix of tempos and cadences to keep people guessing and making people feel like they need to guard every blade of grass at every specific year. And when you do that and can excel at it, it becomes very difficult for defenses to be assignment sound. And so what are we? I wish I knew, but I know this much. Whatever we are, we're going to be really good at it.
I like it. Yeah, no. And I've never really thought that a specific scheme is even necessarily important. I mean, it's more a marketing thing, if anything else, because each week is different. You plan for your opponent differently every week. I mean, I was always a fan of going from pro style to run and shoot, depending on what defense is in front of you. So I like that. The game continues to evolve. And, kind of in the same breath, Coach, with everything that happened in the spring, and certain players that were already on the roster. You guys, obviously, you mentioned you've done some shopping this offseason. Were there any guys that you were really impressed with through this spring campaign?
I hate to be overly vanilla in that question, but we saw.
I'm about as vanilla as it gets right here. So it's all good, man.
Well, it was one of those things right now with the situation, right, Hunter, is when the tide rised, all the boats did as well. And we saw the whole group really raise and elevate their standard of performance. And so guys made plays, but what the basis of the offense, and when you look at the structure of what we do, it really is to expose vulnerable spots in defenses. And when you do that, it's going to come in a variety of different ways. It's going to hit with like we saw in the spring game, Tamato Atimalala goes off. And, that came as a result of what the defense was showing us, and those windows opening up, where on the practice right before, Zion Bowens had an incredible practice. Early on, John Panoke was doing an outstanding job at creating separation, being a strong physical presence. He's a strong hands catcher. And so he does a great job. And so it wasn't like it was one person. It was a whole pod of guys, and that's not to miss out on our running backs and Jordan Murray as a tight end. I mean, a lot of those players did a really good job, and that's really the objective of it is to continually put pressure on the defense. And so, like I said, it's kind of a generic way of answering that question, because I'm not really pinpointing one specific person, but we felt like when we got back after and we visited as a staff, we felt like we saw everybody elevate enough. And what we hope is that we can take a similar stride in the summer and through fall camp.
That's great, man. Yeah. I've always felt like Hawaii, if not the most important, maybe top 10 in terms of schools in the nation that need to have a deep wide receiver room, because our season is so long. We travel more than any other team. Wide receivers are usually the most utilized position group in terms of using them on special teams as well. And so these guys have to be deep to be able to put a good product out on the field on the offense. And so just across the board, man, that speaks to the work that you've done, man, that everybody is on the same page and is ready to go. And so, yeah, that's really good news for those listening at home. We've got the wide receiver core sewed up over here with Coach Ursua.
I didn't quite say that. We saw progress.
I'm a hype man.
We got a lot of good work in front of us. We're trying to keep our feet on the ground and keep the good pace, though. But it has been great to this point.
That's cool, Coach. Coach, we appreciate you stopping by today, man. Really just excited for this season, excited for what's ahead. And yeah, we appreciate you taking some time with us this morning.
No doubt, Hunter. Appreciate you guys. We're tuned into the show all the time. And so we're big fans of you as well. You guys have a good one.
Right on. Aloha.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, big thanks to Jared. Big thanks to you, Hunter, for handling that interview. Fortunately, wasn't able to make it, but we are in very capable hands. We should do this more often. We should just have Hunter do all the interviews, and I can coast in, coming in late to the recordings and wrap this up. But no, in all seriousness, thank you very much, Hunter. And big thanks to Jared. Big thanks to our guy, Jaron, on the controls for arranging that as well. We are excited. I think you can tell that he is excited. Even with the expectations, there comes a little bit of seizing the moment, I think, in a wide receiver room that's lost some transfers and whatnot, but I think we'll be productive once again.
Oh yeah, big time. He along with the rest of this coaching staff, we say it week in, week out, Jordan, it all depends on if we're actually winning football games. But I think there's more to that than just winning games right now with what we're seeing with this coaching staff. We mentioned it in the interview briefly. It's almost as if the team has been resurrected from the dead. The program, everything surrounding the team was in such disarray just 6 months ago, Jordan. I mean, it was week in, week out. It was a freaking circus, bro. But what you and I were reporting on and kind of reacting to, it was something new every single week. And there was a fire, at University of Hawaii. And not only has it been put out, but a new tree has been planted there and it's already starting to blossom. All we're waiting to see is if it's actually bearing fruit here in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big mahalo to everybody involved with that from the top down. It has the makings of a 30 for 30 10 years from now. Who knows what this could be? Really, I feel that way.
Yeah, there's been a few iterations of Hawaii football where you're like, yeah, we could probably use a documentary here, and this may be the latest chapter. Might have to be in multiple installments as we move forward. So now, big thanks to Jared for joining us here on episode 42. All right, wrapping things up on the overtime. Wanted to send our condolences and well wishes, our aloha to the family of Rockne Freitas, who passed away. Obviously, a legendary figure in Hawaii sports, like literally a titan amongst mere mortals. And his time with the Detroit Lions, former second team All-Pro tackle, came back home, became an administrator, interim AD for the University of Hawaii, was the chancellor over at University of Hawaii West Oahu, on the EVA side, and was a visionary. Like he really wanted athletics at UH West Oahu, right? A Division II type program. He had floated the idea of getting junior college sports going through the community colleges in the University of Hawaii system. Like he had a lot of really good ideas. He was a very effective administrator, really kind of got things going there at UH West Oahu, and just a titan of a man, really. And he will be missed, no doubt about that. So wanted to make sure we sent our aloha out to the Freitas family. Yeah, nothing but love to those guys over there. In other news, my overtime, Jordan, is that it's US Open week. That's right. Yeah, US Open week over in the golf world. Kind of an interesting time too, with everything going on with the Live Tour over in Europe. A lot of those guys that played over there are capable, and they qualify to play in the US Open. So all that drama that's kind of happened the last couple weeks is kind of coming together at the US Open. The rough is not just thick on the course, it's rough, thick as that in the locker room as well. So it's going to be fun. There's been a line in the sand drawn. There's no doubt about that. I'm excited for it. The major season kind of rolling on here. All right, that'll do it for us here on episode 42. Big thanks to you, Hunter. Big thanks to Jaron once again. We'll see everybody back here next week on Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthison, as well as our other sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. Have a great weekend, everybody. Aloha.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helly and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.